Yes, full power on the podcast.
Pulp Fiction may not be presented in the correct order, but this podcast is. So following last week's part 1 is shockingly part 2 of our Pulp Fiction breakdown by that song from that movie. Hocus Pocus.
Focus?
Time to focus.
Oh.
Thank you for joining that song from that movie, the journey through the very best and worst of movie songs. Much like last week, this is your explicit warning for this episode. Explicit warning. Host Dietrich, and his girlfriend is a vegetarian, which pretty much makes him a vegetarian. Alex.
This is the truest statement you've ever said on the podcast.
As soon as I was watching the film and I heard that, I was like, I'm going to have to use it for Alex. I've got no choice.
Yep.
I had 2 burgers for dinner last night, Alex.
2?
Yeah, we needed eating.
That's scandalous.
Yes, my wife had none.
I had a double Big Mac.
Was it a quarter pounder with cheese?
Mm.
It was just a pounder. Yeah, it was 4 quarter
It
pounds.
was a half.
They call it Royale with cheese.
And we're also joined, as always, by the fucking master, Ben.
I did win a dance competition when I was 9.
Why don't you show us some of those moves right now?
All I did was cross my feet multiple times. And I won a piggy bank at a caravan park in Cornwall.
We talk about caravans a lot on this podcast, don't we?
It shows the slight part of the world we're from, or the class we're from.
Yeah, pretty much. So welcome to part 2 of our look at the songs of Pulp Fiction. Normally this is the point where we jump straight back into the songs, but I told the guys in the break, whilst we were recording, that I want to talk about my connection to this movie. So here goes. I used to work for a little company called Direct Line Insurance. I worked in the call centre, and they decided to run, a couple of years ago, a long advertising campaign with Winston Wolfe, Harvey Keitel's character from this film, where he would fix people's insurance policies with very vague, unremarkable references to the movie, like the lots of cream, lots of sugar bit that nobody remembers. So there's 2 things that happened during this I thought was interesting to bring up. 1, we were shown this advert before it was sent out to be on TV around the not around the world, around the UK. It confused so many of my colleagues who had never seen the movie, and then it also sparked like an hour-long debate about whether or not the source material is too adult for an insurance advert campaign. I was fine with it, but the logic that other people were saying, mostly parents, so Alex, you can chime in here.
Okay.
The logic was that adults buy insurance, so you should aim it at them, but the adverts are on TV, so they should be family-friendly. Where do you fall?
I feel like the adverts, from memory, are family-friendly enough. They don't have to understand the reference, do they? I feel like it's fine.
Yeah, I thought it was fine as well. It always sort of confused me when I see adverts for Sky Broadband and they use like the minions to advertise it.
Yeah, that's weirder, I think.
Why kids don't pay for broadband? Do they?
Nope.
Alex?
I can categorically say I have not received any money from my child towards broadband.
Towards broadband. He ensures to clarify.
But you have received money.
Yeah.
The second thing is, on the day of the launch of these adverts, Direct Line hired, and I'm using this in the loosest way possible, Harvey Keitel impersonators to walk around the call centre and interact with everybody, handing out Winston Wolfe themed gifts, which were just I fix things on like a stress ball.
What a waste of money.
So you had all these people walking around in like
Did any of them actually look like Harvey Keitel, or were they just like...
No, not a single one looked like Harvey Keitel, to the point where people were asking what's happening. Who are these people walking around the
Who are
floor?
those men in tuxes?
So the person that came over to me and spoke to me, because every single person was interacted, like they went around the entire floor of like 400 people, he looked like David Schwimmer.
I've often said they look alike.
Yeah, well, exactly, they don't. And all he said to me, he shook my hand, gave me a stress ball and went, I'm Winston Wolfe and I fix things. Then he sort of winked at me and walked off.
5 years later, they're married.
It was an awkward experience. And if you were the person that I was talking to on the phone whilst it happened, I'm very sorry, because the conversation I was having with you made no sense. I just halfway through went, huh? Whilst you were talking. I apologise.
It just seems so counterintuitive to sort of like performance metrics.
Yeah, they got this extremely busy call centre, so let's hire a bunch of impersonators to interact with everybody whilst they're talking to customers. One of many things that Daryline did that I was confused about.
Brilliant.
Anyway, that's my connection to Pulp Fiction.
Oh, wow. Gosh. Thank you very much, I think, Dee. I think. My chest is hurting and I can't tell if they're related. Oh, right. Back to the music.
You know it.
And we're starting off with an absolute jam. So we are moving on fairly quickly to a quintessential big song in Dusty Springfield's Son of a Preacher Man. For those unaware, the track plays as John Travolta's Vincent Vega character speaks to the coke-snorting Mia Wallace as she watches him through a camera and communicates through an intercom. Before I give you the Tarantino's thoughts on this song, what are your views on this song, much more importantly?
Well, I think the first thing to mention is obviously the meme. The Vincent Vega is in this scene. It's the scene with the meme. So let's get that out there. I think it's a cool scene, I guess. I like the idea, her like lips against the microphone I feel like is a scene that I've seen in other films, like of like people on the radio. It reminds me of things like
it's very weird.
The Warriors. If you guys have seen The Warriors. It's odd, isn't it? Like, why is she watching him to the camera? It's an unusual thing. I like it, but it also kind of makes her a bit of a provocateur kind of character immediately as well. You know, in line with the song and like what's happening in what the song is talking about, like saying that maybe she might be a bit mischievous or that she might be susceptible to kind of like breaking away from her daddy, in this case, being Marcellus, love daddy. So I'm guessing that that's kind of what the vibe is in the scene.
Very cool.
I mean, it's one of the more iconic scenes of the film, I think. Certainly when he shows up in the house and you just hear a voice over the top. It's a cool pad as well.
Yeah. Nice digs.
Nice digs.
Yeah, it's a great song, and it's just a great use of that song in this movie. It just adds the perfect little bit of extra intrigue and like sexiness to Uma Thurman's character going forward.
Definitely.
Also the meme.
Also the meme. You just have to keep saying also the meme.
If anyone doesn't know which meme we're on about when John Travolta is looking around thinking, huh? Where are you?
Does it have a name?
I'll see if I can find the name of that meme.
But yes, Tarantino said in 1994, I've had that scene in my head for 6 or 7 years. And it
Confused Travolta.
Confused Travolta, okay. Thank you very much, Dave. Yeah, I've had it in my head for 6 or 7 years. And it was always scored to Son of a Preacher Man. He said he would not have used this scene if he could not have that song. I guess testifying to just how much pre-thought he goes into. I don't know how long he had this film in his mind, or if it was just this one standout scene of a woman watching someone through CCTV cameras. I mean, it's a huge famous song, and I think Alex says that there's a lot of reasoning behind the lyrics and the purpose of the song related to the characters. A little fact about the song: it was originally offered to who do you think?
The scene.
The song, sorry.
Oh, the song.
Nancy Sinatra.
It was a good shout, that though.
No, it was not Nancy Sinatra. No.
Ooh.
Big singer of the time. Someone I often thought sang this song before I learned about Dusty Springfield.
Shirley Bassey.
Aretha Franklin.
Aretha Franklin.
Hey!
Yes, but it was turned down for the British-born singer. Now, we talked about sampling earlier. What's the famous sample for this song?
Is it Madonna again?
It's not Madonna again, no. It's Cypress Hill's Hits from a Bong.
I'll take your word for it.
Drugs-related. Drugs. Moving on to the next song, which is another surf rock instrumental. Bullwinkle Part II by the Centurions. Another fantastic... God, surf rock just had the greatest name for bands and songs. This is just a place setter, again, with a very out-of-place sax solo. Can't say sax solos were quintessential for the surf rock era, but here we go. The track accompanies the stomach-knotting scene in Pulp Fiction as the camera focuses on the blood pouring into a syringe as John Travolta shoots up. I always think of films that have tried to, I guess, emulate the reaction for someone taking drugs. I always think of Requiem for a Dream. Also scenes, I think, not related to drugs, but like I think there's like in Simpsons when they eat like sugar and their pupils just dilate.
Yeah.
And things like that. But I don't know, it doesn't seem romanticised that much in Pulp Fiction for me. It's one of the ones that you've not talked about. Yeah.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, I'll keep talking then. Tarantino said in 1994 again that he emphasised that this song, Bullwinkle Part II, was score music, as opposed to something Travolta's character would be listening to on the radio. And he said, the reason I did that was because I always really dug surf music a lot. But the thing was, I never understood what the hell it had to do with surfing. I don't see the connection between this music and surfing. To me, it sounded like rock and roll spaghetti western music. Hey,
Yeah,
we have said this before.
Yeah.
What I don't want to do is, and I see it happen in a lot of movies, is just turn up the soundtrack to create a false energy. And I think we've kind of referenced this in our first part, that the music is quintessential and interwoven into the scenes, but it's not like it's over the top. It's not like often where it's kind of a link between scenes, which I think is what music is used, or like as a scene setter. It's kind of playing in the background or behind dialogue points. It's, like you say, not false energy, which I think is quite an interesting way to think about music, especially the modern era of how music is used, either as a cash system to tie in with a famous artist, or just, through accolades. Now, some may argue that the next song is one of the most famous songs, potentially the most famous song, and it is You Never Can Tell by Chuck Berry. So this is the very famous scene in which Vincent and Mia are dancing at Jack Rabbit Slim's Twist Contest. Now, what do you guys think of this song, the scene?
I don't know about you two, but for me, every time I hear this song, it's not until the chorus that I go, oh, it's the song from Pulp Fiction where they're dancing. Until the chorus, I think, oh, it's the song that's always in Frankie and Benny's.
The song from Frankie and Benny's.
Oh, yeah, the Frankie and Benny's song.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
No, I'd have no idea.
The fact how you said it then as well, Alex, made me think I was missing it. I associated Frankie and Benny's with just Italian translations in the bathroom.
But back to the scene, I guess. I love the dancing. It's just a perfect mix of stupid and stylish to keep it grounded. I also like to think that during takes, Tarantino had to get up on that stage and show Uma Thurman and John Travolta what he wanted them to do. So I just imagine sort of like this small, rat-like human trying to do dance moves in complete silence whilst the rest of the crew watch.
I thought you were just going to say, he goes on and says, no shoes, no shoes, no shoes on my set.
Well, yeah, I mean, Uma Thurman is not wearing shoes, is she? Oh, they're both not wearing shoes, yeah.
They're both not wearing shoes.
John Travolta starts taking off, no, not you, not you. You leave your socks on.
The man loves feet.
The man loves feet. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, the scene from Kill Bill. I'm remembering that.
Oh, yeah, and I rewatched Kill Bill last night, actually.
The foot scene in the most recent one, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah, on the dashboard.
On the dashboard.
Yeah, man loves feet. It's almost like, it just makes me laugh now when I see it.
Underage feet.
It's funny you mentioned
Which is interesting. Oh, let's say, go on, Alex, you go on.
No, oh, sorry, I mean, if you were going to talk more about feet, that's not where I was going.
No, it wasn't.
I was going to say what Dee said was interesting about him teaching them dance moves, because I was wondering whether they were just completely improvised. It feels like when you're watching it, like it's not choreographed to me.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I just get the impression that he did do that. Not that I don't have any.
He probably did. Yeah.
I mean, John Travolta has a heavy dancing background,
Oh, yeah.
So we are to assume that he can swing.
Name one film.
Grease 2. Oh, damn!
He wasn't for a fact he was not in Grease 2.
What I was going to play on from what Dee said is the underage thing, because there are a lot of weird age-related songs picked out in this film. So this song, famously, Chuck Berry wrote this along with a song, No Particular Place to Go, while doing time in Missouri's Federal Medical Center prison for breaking the Mann Act. Anyone know what the Mann Act is?
No, but I think Chuck Berry was a bit of a drug addict.
Oh, he was. It was many other things as well, Alex, because the Mann Act is when you break the rules about transferring minors across state lines, because he allegedly brought a 14-year-old girl over state lines to have sex with, which is also a bit unusual that while serving time in prison, he wrote a song about two young individuals fleeing to get married, which is what this song is about, the young Pierre and Mademoiselle. And there's just a lot of weird sort of young age songs in this. The next song we're going on kind of has some sort of ties to that.
Oh, yeah.
Christ.
And yeah, I guess Son of a Preacher Man is is about someone, I guess, that sort of rebellious young age sort of finding love. I just find them very weird. It's not something I think... Tarantino has a lot of weird things about him. So I don't want to go down that route too much, but I just find it sometimes a bit creepy. But a lot of other directors, you think it's just coincidence. With him, it's just I find it weird.
Because he's so meticulous about things he chooses as well.
He is, that's the thing,
feel
yeah.
like there is probably something in that.
Probably something there, yes. And he said he went with this song because it gave a uniquely 50s French New Wave dance sequence feel. Now, I don't know how familiar you guys are with French New Wave, but I will be incredibly pretentious and say that I am. There's a weird dance scene in a film called Bande à Part, which I think is the production company. At the start, in the credits, it says it. And it's a Godard French film, quite famous, and they're kind of dancing. And it does have a weird similarity to it. And I guess it's, again, he's taking these inspirations, 60s, 70s, 50s, that he does know how to get a feel of a time. And just, like you say, collage it into whatever he wants to make sense. The next song is a great song, in my opinion. Is Urge Overkill's Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. This plays over while Uma Thurman's character Mia Wallace dances while John Travolta psychs himself up to take her on, not a date, just before her accidental overdose. Now, what do you guys think of this one? Again, this is a Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. I find, what's the meticulous part of this? Why this song?
I mean, again, all I can assume is that it's kind of a reference to... Because as well, like, at the time Vincent is in the bathroom, isn't he? Trying to psych himself up to leave so that he doesn't end up fooling around, but it's kind of like to her, like, there's this sense that they might be about to get it on. And so, like, obviously that, like, idea of her becoming a woman, I mean, I don't know what the implication is about her previous sexual exploits, but I would.
You assume many.
You would. Well, yeah, but I think obviously the idea that these two had a real connection, so that maybe there'll be more in it. But then I think obviously it's also a bit tongue in cheek in the sense that she's about to have this huge drug overdose and possibly die.
Yeah.
So the experience that was expected is completely subverted, and so the song kind of like nicely peps you up for something, but then it twists it into something you weren't expecting. So like it really plays with your expectations of what's coming. So I think it really works, and it's like a good scene as well.
Yeah, very good scene.
What I think the song also does is it going off the previous song, You Never Can Tell. I think it really helps show the passage of time. It's a very similar vibe, but it's got a sort of slower pace, so it sort of almost feels like, well, I know it's not, but the night is slowing down, but the dancing is continuing in between them.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not about to slow down. It's about to get even more hectic.
Very much so.
Yeah, I find it quite similar to in Inglourious Basterds when he plays David Bowie's. Is it putting out the fire? Gasoline. When the French character is getting ready, I think it has that. I don't know if it's kind of a similar voice, but it's like something's about to happen. It's like on the precipice of something. And I guess that Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. Yes, something's about to happen. I'm not familiar with heroin. Is it because she snorts it? Is that why it goes wrong? She thinks it's cocaine?
I think so.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea. I just accept that it went wrong. I just thought maybe there was something in it or something, I don't know.
Yeah. Tarantino said that he tested out a few other songs for this scene. He wasn't set on it, but then when he found Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon, he said, beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is the song Mia has to dance to. He said he played it to Uma, and Uma flipped. I'm assuming flipped meant excited and she's like, no! And like just turns over a table. What I didn't know is apparently this is a cover of a Neil Diamond song, the 1967 single Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. Tarantino said this version was just much better, and it had a profound effect on him. Don't know what that means. Apparently Neil Diamond said, I watched Pulp Fiction about half a dozen times before I could figure it out. He didn't realise that his song was in the film. Because he'd licensed it to Urge Overkill. But he said now that because the song made it to number 59 on the Hot 100 of that year.
His version?
The Urge Overkill's version.
Oh, right.
And number 11 on the Billboard Alternative Songs chart. And he said, it really proves you can't keep a good record down.
O'Neill.
And probably gets a lot of money from this because, it obviously did quite well. But I find it quite funny. The next song we are talking about is Maria McKee's If Love is a Red Dress, in brackets, Hang Me in Rags. Always respect the brackets. This one plays dreamily, whistling in the background, when we have Bruce Willis and Ving Rhames' pawn shop tussle. So, yeah, what do you guys think?
Well, I'm glad you said that, because this was a song where I just couldn't tell where it was in the movie.
Again, same.
Is this song used on the Confused.com adverts?
Yeah.
Right, so what is it with this movie and insurance companies? They clean up one car, and apparently that's enough to warrant all insurance companies using it.
It's something, until I played it back, all I associate now with this song, or at least that 3 sort of strums, is Confused.com. I can't think of anything else now. Unfortunately, that has no place in Pulp Fiction anymore in my mind. It just has that guy's voice. And Confused.
Well, I'm glad I wasn't being stupid when I thought that, when I listened to it on YouTube, but yeah, this song could have been anywhere in the movie. I couldn't have told you if you hadn't told me first.
I had a similar experience. I was trying to locate the scenes of the songs, and this one I couldn't find it. I listened to the song. It was a nice song.
Yeah, it's not a great one. Tarantino said that when you take a song and put them in a sequence in a movie, right, it's about as cinematic a thing as you can do. Don't even know what that means.
Just take his word for it.
Does that mean that we deserve to give praise to the Confused.com guys? Because it bloody works in that advert. He also said that he was a big Maria McKee fan, aren't we all?
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've got McKee.
I've got McKee.
I've got Marie Curie. That won't work.
Don't worry. He also said, you're really doing what movies do better than any other art form. Well, not really, because adverts. When you hit it right, the effect is you can never really hear that song again without thinking about that image from the movie. Sorry, Quentin.
Sorry, yeah.
You really, you've been done.
Plot twist, he directed those adverts.
Imagine. In his downtime, writing spaghetti western books and also directing insurance ads. You didn't have any Tarantino lookalikes with Hawaiian sort of shirts roaming through your office, did you, D?
No. Nobody telling me how to dance.
It probably would have been sent out either asking for pics of your feet or saying words he shouldn't say. Which is not really a song in this film, but I always find that weird. Like, why do you write yourself into a film? Yeah, it's your film, write yourself in, sure. But you write it in with the most expletives. You're giving fuel to the argument of why you shouldn't. Anyway, the next song, The Revels, Camanche. Camanche? Is it Camanche? Camanche?
Not got this one on my list, so no idea.
Not on my list.
Okay. The Revels, Camanche. This plays in the scene in which Marcellus Wallace is sexually assaulted by a pawn shop owner and a security guard. Don't really remember that scene. Doesn't quite stick in my memory from... Of course it does. It's ingrained into my bleeding retinas.
Oh, is this the sax solo?
Yeah, parts.
Right, okay.
Apparently, not Quentin Tarantino's first choice. Do you know what his first choice was to be played over the sexually assaulted Marcellus Wallace?
Careless Whisper.
No, better.
Just because you mentioned sax, I think.
My Sharona by the Knack.
God.
Apparently, because he thinks My Sharona has a really good sodomy beat to it, because that's a thing I
Whoa.
often think about, yeah.
I mean, I was going to say that it was a musical footnote.
What a weird line to say.
Yeah, that is.
My Sharona has a real good sodomy beat to it. Good and sodomy should be 2 words that are never next to each other.
Whoa, Ben, don't king shame.
If you think about it, he said in 1994, I could set the time by that. And it just seems so funny to me.
I enjoyed that he's commented on every song that's featured in this film. I feel like a lot of the times when we do the larger soundtracks, it's hard to find sound bites where he's like, well, the reason I picked this song is because of this.
There's one thing Kareem, I don't even know why that guy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, what am I saying? There's one thing you can say about Quentin Tarantino, and he loves to talk. And point 2, he loves to talk about his films, especially if someone's praising him. Apparently, he approached a member of the Knack, but one of the band members had become a born-again Christian and didn't want his song to be over a scene of sexual assault.
That's fair.
But in hindsight, apparently, Tarantino said he was fine with that because he thinks maybe it would have been too comical. Yeah, you don't really want your audience laughing at that, do you? I think there's tongue-in-cheek, and you can see it as just a weird situation because the whole thing with the gimp is just bizarre. You could not see it coming. But yeah, My Sharona might have been the straw that broke Marcellus Wallace's back. Anyway,
Packed a lot of jokes into that, Ben. Well done.
That was literally off the cuff. I didn't even write that down. 2 more songs, gentlemen and listeners. We're moving on to the Startler Brothers with their song Flowers on the Wall. Do you remember when this one was?
It's the scene where just before where Bruce Willis runs over Marcel, he puts on and kind of sings along to it.
Yeah, he's singing along. What do you think? I like this scene because I don't think there's many examples in history in which you kill off a main character in such a it's no blaze of glory. There's no pride in it. Isn't he in the John?
Oh, John Travolta. Yeah, he's in the toilet.
John he is in the John. In brackets Travolta. Yeah, I love when that happens in a film. It just, it subverts everything.
Yeah, but then they bring him back to life for the final scene, Ben.
Well, yeah.
Triumphantly. But yeah, it's a really good scene. Especially, but this one more than any reminds me of the 22 short stories about Springfield, just because the actual shot of him looking out the car window and seeing Marcel's walking across the street with the donuts.
Donuts. I love donuts.
But they frame it in Simpsons exactly the same way, and it's like I couldn't not see Chief Wiggum walking across the street. But yeah, it's one of the more like iconic moments of the film, I think, when he just sees him walking across. It's just the coincidental nature of it all. It's just hilarious. And then obviously what ensues afterwards, or before. It's difficult to remember which order the film is in.
In terms of the actual song itself and how Bruce Willis singing it, what I don't understand is, I don't think I've ever heard this song on TV or radio or anywhere outside of this movie. So I don't think Bruce Willis' character should know this song enough to sing along to it.
Yeah, I can kind of see where you're going. And it's interesting you say that, because this is one of the very, very few songs that wasn't an idea by Tarantino. Comes from his music supervisor, Karen Rackman, and he said she just gave me different tapes, and for every 5 new songs, she put an old song in there. And I mentioned it to Bruce, assuming Bruce Willis, and he was like, "Oh God, I love it." Can't imagine Bruce Willis ever saying, "Oh God, I love it." He might have said yippee-ki-yay, but who knows. Our final song of this epic run through the music of Pulp Fiction is the Lively Ones song, Surf Rider, and it's plays over the end credits as John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson walk out of the diner. I knew of this song quite a lot following Pulp Fiction. I think my dad had it on a CD or something, and it had an incredibly popular run after the use of the film. But what do you think?
It's just the perfect riding off into the sunset song for this movie, really.
Yeah.
It's like, it's sort of reference there, like an old western walking away from a saloon.
Yes, yeah.
At the end of a movie. It just captures the spirit of the entire movie without any words being uttered. And it's just the perfect song to end this movie with.
Yeah, agree. And I think like everything about that end take of them walking out of the is it the Big Kahuna Bar? That's what it's called, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the t-shirts and the shorts and the putting the huge magnums into the shorts. The whole thing is just completely ridiculous, but by the time you've made it that far, it makes sense. And I think like it's the perfect encapsulation of everything you kind of just watched, where you're like, what did I just watch? But also, I also get it. And I think, like, that moment there, and then that music starts to play and it just finishes. It's just like, okay. But it's also kind of, even though it's like a really, like, sort of epic kind of ending, it does also just, like, slowly go into the credits. It's kind of weird. It's sort of like, it's not like the opening credits where it, like, gunshots into it. It's sort of like, this is obviously the natural ending, even though it's also the beginning. So it's it's interesting. But I think it just sums up everything that the film does well.
Yeah, and I like the fact that, and we sort of mentioned it when we talked about Mr. Lou, that's got like an old western vibe to it, and it basically the 2 old westerny sounding songs bookend the movie, even though they're in the same scene.
It's very well done, Quentin. I think that's all we can say for that.
Okay, so now it's time to find out what we think is the best song from Reservoir Dogs. There's a lot to choose from, so good luck with this. Alex, you can go first.
Ooh, let me have a think. Ooh, it's difficult it is really hard, this one, because I think like the obvious choice is Missoula at the beginning, because it's just the impact it has, and I think it's the one that you think that's the Pulp Fiction song. I do really love the dance scene in the middle with Go Sure You Never Can Tell. I think for me that's the iconic scene of the film. Like you said, with the actual song itself, I think sometimes if someone were to ask me what's the song in that scene, I might forget what it is still. Even though, like, if I hear the chorus, like you said, I would know it, that's where it's from. I think sometimes it took
Yeah.
me a long time to get to that place where I knew what the song was, because I feel like I was always trying to sing like
It's the Frankie and
Little
Benny's
Green
issue.
Bag, from Reservoir Dogs. Like that was like, it's that one.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's not. That's the one from Reservoir Dogs. So even though I think that scene is the scene of the film, I think the sort of film stealer, I think the song itself might be a bit forgettable. And then when I was watching the film, the song that I really found interesting in the scene was the "Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon" scene, weirdly.
Yeah.
So, and also Son of a Preacher Man, I think those two scenes, but I think that part of the film, the Mia Vincent story, is by far the strongest for me. It's the most interesting anyway, and it's when you're watching it's the most like gripping. So I think that those three scenes in the middle really work well together.
So what you're saying is, Alex, you haven't got a clue.
I haven't got a clue, yeah, but I guess that's the point, isn't it? It feels like you can't possibly choose one.
About Pulp Fiction.
But if you had to press me, I'd probably choose Miserlou just because it's the song from the film.
Yeah, I think it's the quintessential song. It's the one that you remember. I agree. I think I agree with Alex. He kind of said every song. But, Urge Overkill's "Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon," I think is probably the best song, like my favourite song from the film. So it's one of those two. It's a toss-up between those for me.
Yeah, it's sort of going back to the Swiss Army Man problem of that scene with that song from that movie.
Terrible name for a podcast.
So if you just take the song on its own, I think I have to go Miss Lou, but you could easily change that to "You Can Never Can Tell" or "Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon," and it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I mean, I'll be intrigued to see what people pick for this one, and I don't know how I'm going to split this up on Twitter.
Good luck with that.
Might just have to drop some. No one's picking Lonesome Town, are they?
We'll see.
Right, so that brings us into another episode of that song from that movie. Let us know which one you think is better on Twitter. By the time you listen to this, we'll be on to the finals, so you already missed the semi-finals if you haven't listened to last week's. Probably should have mentioned it in the outro to last week's episode. Oh well. You can let us know on Twitter. Alex, what is our Twitter handle?
TSFTM
Thanks. You can help by sharing this. One of the places you can share it is on Reddit. But what random subreddit should they pick this week, Ben?
The Knack.
Fair. And you can help us in other ways, such as buying our merch, signing up to our Patreon, or leaving us a 5-star review. All the links for that are on our social media and in the show notes below, or to the side, depending on where you listen to this. All that's left now is to do some goodbye, so it's goodbye from myself, goodbye, and goodbye from Alex.
Don't you hate that? Uncomfortable silences.
And goodbye from Ben.
That's too uncomfortable. I've forgotten what I was going to say.
So, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
I was convinced you were just going to shout, "Bring out the kid."
I was tempted to, but then I also had to think of my professional background sometimes. I've got a point. I looked at the lyrics for My Sharona, and there's a line as well in that, "Always get it up for the touch of the younger kind." There's a weird thing going on with this film. And
There definitely is, yeah.
it's just wrong, isn't it?